Hello, my loves. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to go into, I think, multiple different areas today. So, whatever you see in the title will be sort of the gist of what comes through. I want to start out by acknowledging the clear shift transition with this energy and with Pluto into Aquarius. I'm sure many of you have been feeling the intensity of the energies. And they've been bouts and moments of being quite heavy, maybe more so than we've felt in quite some time. What I've been picking up on and sensing is I know that a lot of the feminines have been feeling some heaviness and emotion that they have been picking up on from the masculine collective or even their own personal counterpart connection. This was confirmed for me on my Patreon video yesterday, where I sort of dove deeper into the next steps of the mission that many of the twin flame divine counterparts are moving into in terms of really deepening into our planetary mission work and supporting the transmutation of those old war energies, painful energies, suffering energies, the way that we've been working within ourselves to transmute energies, now we're being called more deeply to the planetary scale. I know that we have been working on these already, but how I'm sensing it and sort of being shown is that the masculines, as they're going into their next steps and stages and deepening into their transformation, they have been the ones that have been like operating and in carrying a lot of the density and the heaviness, like I've said, to protect the planet, to protect the collective, to protect the feminine. And I apologize if you hear the beeping in the background. There's some trucks outside on cue with that. And so what I'm picking up on is that the counterparts are being called more deeply into those next steps because so many of the divine sacred feminines have stabilized, have come into deeper states of internal union. Yes, she may be picking up on her masculine, but it's not even just his information. It's the ancestors, it's the collective, it's the planetary energies where the masculines have been holding. Like I said, what's been coming up quite a bit is like the lands where the war energy have been. I touched on it yesterday. So it's really, there's something big coming up with the ancestors and especially connected to the indigenous peoples of the original lands. And as we know, many have been marginalized and ousted from their own sacred lands. And there's an opportunity for some deep energetic healing that's taking place. I just returned from a trip to North Carolina. That's why I was quiet for a while. Um, it was a pretty intense, energetic trip for me in the sense that I knew I was meant to go there and I went to see family, but there was a lot of shifting and energy and things that were occurring connected to the Revolutionary War and the Civil War as far as like transmutation with the land and really just holding space to bring in the energies of divine love and divine truth and just allowing that energy to be present. There was a difference for me in that because of the work that we have been doing, I was very, very aware. It took a few days for me to become aware of it, but I was aware of how much stronger I am and how much stronger the collective is because the amount of energy that was transformed in such a short amount of time was very significant and almost so big that I wasn't fully aware until retrospect, until I was on my way back home. And I'm still settling in with that almost 2 days later. So I also know that many of you have been being called to travel, and just your presence in those places um, is significant and important. So obviously honor however you are being called. I think this is something important that so many of us, we're just going along and we're doing what's in front of us and we're doing what's called. And not necessarily realizing how potent your presence actually is. You just being in places and being present and being in love and being embodied and coming in those energies of unity consciousness without even really having to say or do anything. Just simply your presence is holding those essences in those spaces. And that presence in and of itself is helping to transform. So, for the divine feminines that may be feeling the divine masculines, obviously, I'm going to tell you to always trust yourself above all else. But if you have been called to not shut it off or close it down and to simply support it at the higher levels, then keep honoring and trusting that because this feels very different for those of you who resonate with it. I know that we're all in different places. So, if you are not in this space, please follow your guidance. But I do know that there is a group within the collective that is being guided to not close down, to stand in the energies, even when they're uncomfortable, to allow the actual energies to fully transmute. Okay, this feels important. And it goes back to our capacity to not run, to not chase, to not wall, to not freeze, and to actually just be present with whatever is, even when it's uncomfortable, not because we're agreeing to it or sitting in it or because we want that, but because we're actually standing in those energies in the essence of love and unity consciousness. And that presence is what allows the transformation of the pain and the suffering and the war energies. Okay. So I know there's more to be coming with this. And there's, for those of you who touched in when I was talking about last week, where the masculines were showing the promises, vows, and oaths are being sort of, some are being unraveled, some are being upgraded, because I feel like this is important too. For those of you who feel that you have made a promise to the earth or to your counterpart or to the collective or to the lands to support the ascension and to support the evolution, it's not that you're going back on that promise. What I'm being shown is that we're actually upgrading those commitments in the sense that we no longer have to carry the density or the guilt or the shame or the blame or the heaviness around those original oaths or promises or vows. The honorable part, the integrity, the energy that we were choosing to come from to resolve those old misdoings, right? Um, wow, there's more coming in right now. It just feels deeply important that the core of your purpose, the core of your mission, the core of your heart, and your essence of that will still always be present, right? The truth cannot be unraveled, as we know. This is more about unraveling and releasing the binds or the restrictions. Okay, because what I've been shown is that a lot of times when these oaths were made, they were made during times or energies where we didn't necessarily have the level of awareness that we have now. And so the results of who we are now needs more space to land. And so any of the restrictions that we previously had have to be released so that we actually can fulfill the original aligned oaths and promises, but also unravel and dissolve and resolve the oaths or vows that were actually keeping us stuck in those sort of tug of war energies. Okay. And this all goes into moving out of the duality energies, not to get rid of them, but to actually neutralize and to be able to hold space with all that is, right? Because this is the planet that we live on. So it's sort of being able to hold steady within the extremes, which is what we're being called to do deeper, which is why many of you are feeling those very heavy, dense energies that feel very uncertain and uncomfortable, followed by the very high, light, high energy, peaceful, loving energies. And it can feel like you're on a roller coaster, but really ultimately it's showing how much space you're able to hold. And yes, it may feel like sort of turbulent at first or intense because you're going from one extreme to the other. But when you're able to roll with that, and stabilize it and sort of understand it's the ebbs and the flows of the extremes. And the more you can just see it for what it is and stabilize within yourself, it's going to be very supportive for you to be able to navigate the extremes in the physical world. Because, like I said, we're being called, we've been stabilizing for ourselves, we've been building our own foundations, and now we are being called to hold the stabilization at a much larger scale. But it is because we are ready to do so. And again, as always, take this only as and how it resonates for you. I'm really I know mostly this is going to be simply a confirmation for most of you. I know that most of you are aware, and maybe this is just helping to solidify you owning those next steps and stages. Well, there's another part of it because I think that many also see their part of it and aren't necessarily aware of just how much space they're holding for the collective and absolutely how incredibly important it is and what an honor it is to be able to be in this position, to be able to hold this space for the collective, but also for the planet to ascend to her rightful place. All right. So, very beautiful. What I would like to do is I actually want to dive into some messages, and I'm going to go into some messages for the feminine collective and for the masculine collective. And for anybody that wants to go a bit deeper into some of these messages with the ancestors and the lands, I'll drop my Patreon in the pinned comment as well. And also that session that I recorded to work with the vows, oaths, and promises is still relevant today. It still feels like quite a bit is processing with that. And I feel like this makes sense in that how I spoke about the war energies being transmuted, and it came to my attention that actually the Revolutionary War happened during Pluto and Aquarius. So these patterns are coming back around on a planetary scale to be transmuted. All right, let's see what I'm going to go into the masculines first. So it came through with whale song resonating and door closing completion. So what I'm feeling very deeply is that, wow, the masculines are very much in the process of transmuting. I know many of the feminines have felt that they've been sort of the bearer of the transmutation, but the masculines, again, like I said, they were holding the energies so the feminines could transmute. And now they're holding like a big bulk of the density. And yes, the feminines are still supporting, but the masculines are actually in the bulk of this transmutation. And what I'm sensing right now is I know, listen, I'm with you. I know the feminines have transmuted some very dense, heavy information. And what I'm feeling is that what the masculines are moving through is equally as heavy and dense in its own right. And wow, I can feel it. And I'm kind of like this mission was big and it's why we all came together to do it together. And so it feels important to acknowledge that. And the masculines are acknowledging this completion. I'm not sure what this is about just yet. I feel multiple things. And I'm sensing that it's sort of this big round of transmutation is the completion of a cycle. But I'm going to pull some more cards in between because I do feel like more information wants to come through. So, what is completing and what is opening? That's what I'm sensing. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Whoa. So we have the Five of Cups, the Five of Swords, and the Devil card. This to me, all these cards are really about facing those pains, facing those shadows, going deeply into the depths of the density and learning what needs to be learned. And I still feel like there's more that wants to come with this. Wow. So I have it like this. This is how they came out. The sun and then the door closing. I feel like this is so much like the dark, it's the darkest before the dawn. Like the parts that we're facing right now are the heaviest, the densest, and this is what you're prepared for. And it's like on the other side of the closing door of the darkness is this light. Okay. It's coming through to me. Wow. What I'm sensing is that a lot. I even want to pull something in between just because my system is so used to things taking time. Like I've really retrained myself to, give everything space and grace like we've talked about. But you know what? I'm not going to dilute it. I'm going to honor the fact that this feels very, very strongly that there is going to be this very intense darkness followed by a very intense light. There is going to be like this completion of something in the immediate bursting forth of the newness. This, I'm not 100% sure what. I actually feel like it could be planetary, it could be personal, it can be things that might seem small and maybe initially inconsequential, but are going to be very big in the long run. So I'm feeling guided to have you notice where things are shifting, where it feels like things are never going to change. And then all of a sudden, the shift bursts forward. And I've experienced this before. So I actually, just about a year ago, I was in this very type of energy where I had been working and working and working in the shadows. And it did not feel like things were going to shift, but I was at a point where there really was nowhere else for me to go. And I really deeply surrendered, followed my guidance, and then there was a huge burst forward that I've been sort of riding that wave for the past year. Yes, I've been doing other things because it feels like there's another wave like this that's going to be coming forward. Wow. Okay. Beautiful. And thank you, masculines, for that. I feel like that could be its whole own thing. I want to see what the feminines would like to share as well. Adjustment, looking back, moving forward, and planting something new. So it feels that the feminines are looking back, helping with that transmutation to move forward and simultaneously planting something new, which was what we were talking about. What I'm sort of seeing right now as I'm speaking about this is imagine that the masculines are in the earth, holding the space open within the darkness. The feminines are helping to transmute what is not meant to be there, and she's also seeding the light. But it's through her capacity to do this because the masculine is holding that door open, that portal open to allow this to come through. Okay. And so this is something you may see and sense and work with within your own energy. But for those of you who have been working in the energetics with your divine counterpart connection, I would like you to pay deeper attention to this and honoring the masculines for their strength and their capacity to hold that open. So wow, wow. I'm kind of getting blown away right now because I never saw it quite like this. But it's like in the darkness where these energies are, the masculines are literally like holding, right? It's like wanting to push in on him and consume him, but he's holding. And it is because of their work in tandem that's happening. So as the feminine continues to honor her guidance and unravel and dissolve what's no longer in alignment and bringing in that higher light through this pillar of energy, it is how they are working together. The masculine is holding the door open to allow this process. Okay. Wow. So all of those times, the collective thought that the masculines were not doing their part. They have always been doing their part this whole entire time. Every single time the sacred feminine collective was transmuting a projection, a judgment, a shadow, a pain, a trauma. It is because of the space that the masculine collective has been holding with you in the energies. And I feel very guided to ask the feminines to sit with this, to honor your connection as you are ready. And I know some of you have already done it. And if you are not there yet, that's okay. Keep focusing on what you're being guided to focus on, but honoring the collectives, honoring the tandem work, honoring how far we have come to be able to reach this space. And yes, there's more to come. But again, there's also the light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? Keep going. You know, I'm going to keep showing up with you here. Beautiful work. Let me know what you're thinking and feeling around these messages. And I'll drop all my information in the pinned comment. I do think I have some sessions available next week still, if any of you would like to connect. And again, I have my Patreon if you feel like guided to pop over there. Some recorded sessions on my website, and just sending you so much love and appreciation during these intense times. And again, I will come on as I'm guided, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Lots of love.